In the 5th book of your bio, you talk about some Christian saints. Could you give us more information about that?
Well, the reason why I mention the Christian saints, well, in the tradition, the Roman Catholic tradition, is to respect the saints. It seems that in some ways the saints, the canonized saints, are those that come closest to, let's say, the pure devotee of the Christian, let's say, tradition. These are those whose devotion is so perfect, so great, so unbelievably pure, that they accomplish miracles or extraordinary feats. And so they would be considered like the extreme, the geniuses of, let's say, practice. And like in the case of Saint Teresa, who was known to float around her convent. And this is, something that was a common occurrence for her and her people. They all testified to the effect that she would float around, she would levitate. And she was very young, extremely devotional. So we're talking about something that is of a nature that is profound, right? Anti-gravitational. Now, what in devotion creates that? We're talking about somebody who seems to come from outer space. So I'm saying, defying the forces of gravity. This is known about in certain cultures and certain traditions, but it's not common practice. So some of the saints then had these powers, see, and but they were devotees of Jesus, right? And they had a definite sense of grace and purity around them, which made them unlike anybody else. And these are the people that the Church has sanctioned so that you can worship them and call upon them in the name of Jesus to help and protect you, because such beings could have the powers of doing good for many people. And so I mentioned that particularly because we're talking about practice there. We're talking about yogic practice on the other hand, where you have certain powers, but rarely at the magnitude of let's say what happens in some of the Christian let's say literature, as per some of the saints, pretty crazy, pretty profound, and mad, but pure. And then we're talking about meditation practice, we're talking about prayer practice, we're talking about mantra practice, and we're repeating Jesus' names and these things, and defying the forces of gravity in the process. So if it works for the Christians, we know it's going to work for anybody that practices something like that. And when I had my stint with the Krishna devotees, which I loved to no end because of the musicality of their practice and the spiritual, devotional, say, wavelengths of ecstatic bliss that accompany this kind of musical practice, there's something here that defies logic, in a manner of speaking, and it was very, very attractive to me that we can experience these states of consciousness. Where else are you going to experience that state of consciousness? Right? Where else? Yeah? Except amongst those who understand the forces that need to be acknowledged and then defying the force of suffering, defying the forces of gravity, and feeling that you can commune with the higher, with the gods, let's say. See? So it's a rather beautiful, I guess you might say, aspect of our culture to have this kind of phenomena right in our midst, because of devotion. So it can take you to far out places, there's no doubt about it. And again, it's a step on the path. Comment on that.
You made a distinction between following a living master and non-living masters. So how is it possible they were able to make such a deep connection or devotion to a non-living master?
Well, the contact then is at the heart level, so that they see there's no difference. There's no difference between them and the living master, that they are the living master. They become Jesus, they enter Jesus, Jesus enters them. See, so there's this kind of exchange which is really high practice in the traditions. At the esoteric levels, it's high practice, see, where you exchange yourself for the master, for the guru. You exchange yourself, you exchange your heart for the guru's heart. You exchange your mind for the guru's mind, and you exchange your body for the guru's body. So you become the guru that way. See? So it depends on your devotion and your intensity of practice that enables you then to incarnate the Guru into your own being. High practice.
Is that something that's encouraged for Catholics in general, or is it something unique to these people that they found?
What people are you talking about?
The saints who found a way to such...
Their devotion to Jesus is what brought that about. See? Prayer, a unique quality in them that enabled them, like in the case of Padre Pio, which is more recent, see, more recent manifestation of these signs of stigmata, what is the word, bilocation. You could be in at least two places at once at the same time. So you have more than one body, it would appear. And other things, you know, these signs of powers that come, but again, they're steps along the path, see? But they serve a profound purpose of keeping those connected to the faith and to the tradition, see? Because of his devotion, not just Jesus is doing, but his relationship to Jesus is magnet, see? Because he incarnated Jesus in himself. He had become Jesus. He communed with Jesus. His communion was such that you could feel you were in the presence of Jesus in that sense. And that's what spiritual practice is about. And that's also what musical and artistic practice is about. Not just knowing about somebody, but becoming one with that. Beethoven. Capability, becoming one with a genius. This is a normal human practice relative to evolving to another place. See? Using the example there as a stepping stone to where you need to be, but having to become him and then go beyond, see, as a step along your path of realization or manifestation as such. So it's not unique to the spiritualist. See, we see that in science when you have a mentor sometimes of a unique magnitude, like look in the case of somebody like Nikola Tesla, who was a genius in his own right, a universal genius, around the turn of the last century. And so he was a loner, isolated, person who's really into himself, his own mind. We don't know where he got it from, except that his mother was supposedly a psychic person with powers. And so he inherited those powers, and then he took it to another level. And a lot of people said he took it to a level where it seemed that he was directly influenced by the extraterrestrials. But there's no doubt about it. We are the extraterrestrials. See, they're not a separate component of our reality. The planets are not a separate component of our reality. See? We are part of the same field. Right? The field of infinite expanse is what we are. There's no question about that. See, to find some kind of resonance with these extraordinary beings who appear to be almost like either superhuman beings or superhero beings or extraterrestrial beings is really to find our true nature. We are extraterrestrial beings. We have all of that in us. We have the wildest imagination. Right? We have the gift of imagination. So we have our link with God and Christ and Buddha just by way of our awareness. See? It's just a matter how you use it and how that serves you to get to the next level, the quantum leap in your own evolution, your own purpose.
In the case of Padre Pio and the other saints who had such a deep devotion to Jesus, how does that translate into service to other beings and a connection to all of mankind?
Well, the service is obvious, that to be in devotion, see, in a similar manner, is that in itself is purification. That is purification. To see and be around someone like that Padre Pio, of that intense practice, devotion, is purifying. There's no way you can escape it. So that is purification. So his advancement, his devotion, his extreme devotion, purifies those who are in his midst, his company. Just the thought of him is purifying. See? So it's to the advantage of it. It lifts you up because you're talking about a higher being, see, who's incarnated in the name of Jesus. And he's a living example of the grace of, let's say, spirit in that form. And then you have the Buddhist form of that. You have the Hindu forms of that. You have other native forms of that. And we know that these visitations, like Our Lady of Fatima and these other visitations, that's not unique to the Christians. They have all kinds of visitations. The natives have many, many visitations. They don't make a big deal about it. They don't have the press come out. See? And they get carried away, they get taken in spaceships, or they don't make a big deal because they know it's brothers and sisters. So it's more natural than people have made it. It's more continual and consistent with human beings and earth life than people care to know about. They're making it like this recent thing, past 100 years or something. No, it's been ongoing since the beginning because it's part of the universe. I've always been travelers, saying intergalactic beings and intergalactic travelers is made like that because actually then we can say, well, that's the mind of God viewing itself from its many different vantage points. The infinite vantage points of itself. So that's one way of looking at it. God viewing itself from its own infinitude, its own infiniteness. Yeah.
And so are all these multitudes of intergalactic beings more or less the same as humans, all?
They're not the same as humans. They're different, but they are disposed. They're relatively disposed the same as humans, where if they have societies and cultures, they have a certain kind of, I guess you might say, obligation to one another in that sense. They work together, so they have their own governing potential, and they have their own laws. See, whether they are insect beings, we see them on Earth as these tiny little things, and they've been known and what is the word, described as being huge in terms of like these abductions, where they say, no, they see the ant beings and some of the reptilian beings, or they see the grasshopper beings, the praying mantis beings, 8 and 9 feet tall. Well, they could be thousands of feet tall in other dimensions. This could be, it's all relative. They're huge, beyond our comprehension. See, that's how vast this thing is, and infinitely invisible to us because of the relative truth and reality that is the universe, see, and our potential.
So we're just as much, in a sense, aliens to them as they are to
Oh,
us.
absolutely. There's no question about that. Aliens. We're all aliens, we're all family. We're all one big cosmic family of aliens to one another, but then when you get beyond the differences of appearances, well, we're all children of the creation of it. We're all results, products of the creation of ourselves. We are products of the creation of itself. And the more we expand outside of ourselves and make ourselves available for, let's say, universal or intergalactic resonance with other beings, despite what they look like, but we're putting the heart out to the heart in these beings, even though maybe some of them don't have what we call a heart in the same sense. But they have resonance, vibrational resonance, say, like a lot of creatures do. They may not have a heart as we know it, but they know what they like, they know what they don't like, they know what they have to avoid, they know what they're attracted to, they know what they need to eat, and so on. So they have their programs. See? And then they have a knowingness. See? They have, I'm assuming they have a certain kind of awareness of their own nature and what they need as self, not an ego consciousness, but maybe a superior consciousness than just the ego. See? As we say, the ego, as we know it at the human level, is anything, see, but a mock-up. See, potential levels of identification and functioning relative to the universe as a whole or at large. See. So relative. We are beginners. We are so much the beginners in this case. See, we are babies here. We're seeing all kinds of things. In fact, I was outside the other night with my assistant. We were outside. We were looking at a light that blinked on and off right before us in the sky. And I said that had to be a spaceship because it wasn't an aircraft. Right in front of us. Like a light right above us. Boom. I said, wow, look at that. And then boom, it was out. So that was a UFO. Unidentified sitting object. It wasn't even flying, but it's in the sky. See? So there's so much yet that is beyond the surface of what it is that we call knowledge at the human level. There has to be more knowledge at the heart level, to go beyond the human limits and the human fears, the human nature as such as a veil, and as an obstruction or a perversion. It's really more of a perversion of reality, and we have to get to the spiritual reality and work from there so we have more proper openness to our intergalactic potential and our, let's say, companionship with other beings who are waiting for us to stop killing each other. In some cases, maybe we're not killing each other enough for others.
The Vatican came out, it was sometime this decade, and acknowledged aliens as essentially God's children and our brothers.
Absolutely. I mean, an infinite God. I mean, they're giving God some credit. I mean, whatever God is, as a universal source of all things and beings, well, you're just giving it a little bit of credit. Not all that it's potentially capable of is going to be to your liking. We're talking about a universe. There are things going on that we can look up into the sky. We don't understand at all what's happening up there. We're just now starting to probe it. We're just stepping a little bit slightly out of our cocoon here. It's infinitely vast, just to put concepts on it, and it's beyond that. It's beyond imagination, right? The scientists are obsessed with putting limits and definitions on things. That's their game, but they're fooling themselves because they haven't figured anything out yet. See? They're going from theory to theory to theory to theory, which means they're just going around in circles. They don't know. See? And when they stop knowing, or knowing and such, but when they start to know that they don't know properly, then they can know that what it is simultaneity of creation. It's simultaneity of creation. All things coexisting, all things co-emerging, all things co-disappearing, all things co-appearing, and such.
And is the Earth, as let's say a global village, ready for public disclosure of the presence of the aliens?
Oh, of course. It's always been ready. See. So, I mean, there's more self-interest in the government, hiding. It's all self-interest. It's not about the public. It's about the government. Need for power and control. So we don't fault the government. It's taking care of us. It's watching our back. So, so to speak, as much as the government can do that. Up to a point, the government's watching the backs of people. Because it's the people and the land belongs to the government. So it's self-interest. It's always self-interest. All the governments are there to protect themselves. Right? They're all big businesses. Government is just super big business. Right? Military, super big business.
You've referred to the gift of the earth. Could you?
The earth is a gift to us.
The
earth's gift, grace. That means a form of grace. Yeah. This is a living God here. We're here because there's no greater God to us, in fact, than the living God. The living God is the earth right now. This is the goddess, right? The goddess of manifestation, the goddess of grace, life, right? This is it. It doesn't get any better than this. And from here springs everything, high and low in terms of our mind. It's all created out of the imagination, which we can say is somewhat earthborn, but infinite. It's earthborn, infinite. It's the earthborn infinite. And then we can say it's the unborn infinite as we appear as earth beings. So it's the unborn. I mean, it's beyond your birth. It's beyond any birth at all. It's beyond its own birth. So that's the infinite here. See, we're seeing it from the earth because the earth has provided us with a vehicle. And they're still trying to find other vehicles like Earth that would produce things like we are, creatures in the manner that we are. Now there are brothers and sister beings from other galaxies that look similar to us, but their resonance is very different. Their intensity is very different. Their intelligence is somewhat different, so their function is somewhat different from ours. See? And so these beings have already made themselves obvious and known on the Earth to certain peeps who more or less have a resonance with them, so they feel safe to do that. So it's not about higher intelligence or lower intelligence, it's really about resonance. So you find all kinds of people saying they've seen these beings and these beings have approached them based upon the resonance.
And the concept of Mother Earth, is that applicable to all cultures?
Well, we have to say it's all Mother Earth. So in this case, God is Mother. God is a woman. God is female. Right? You come out of a female's womb. You don't come out of a man's womb. You come out of a female's, a woman's, the womb man. Right? You come out of the womb man. Right? And so that's how it should be. It's a mother. Right? And the continual giving birth is what we are. We are the mother. And we call ourselves men because you're always a mother. You're just stuck with it. You need the mother, you don't live without the mother. The mother is the life force. And so when you look at it that way, there's no difference except for functional, let's say, purposes. right, to procreate differently. But we're going to evolve beyond that eventually, where we will be able to evolve to a point where you won't need genitals. See, and then what they have discovered is that a lot of the aliens don't have genitals, but we know they procreate because they have species. They have races of themselves. So how they create is a mystery for the most part, but it's part of the evolution. You start with the gross gravitational genitals, and we're talking about seed energy. We will find different ways to communicate seed and eggs in the future. So that's just a matter of time. See, as we start to lift our consciousness up, we start to gain more because we're more open to light. And you have to become more peaceful to be more open to light. If you're just killing yourself, you're not open to anything but destruction and self-degradation, self-disintegration. That means body and mind and spirit disintegrating. See? Soul disintegrating. Not that you can destroy it, but you can certainly force it to leave the body, see? Which is what happens. See? It just departs from the body. It leaves. And science is becoming much more sensitive now to be able to photograph that. And that's what they're going to be doing in the future, photographing more the fact that spirit enters and leaves the body. It depends on their technology. And the mystics have always known it because the mystics have experienced it. And so then all of that eventually becomes gross knowledge as time goes by and becomes materialistically common ground for everybody. So, oh, you know, so-and-so discovered this and they photographed this, so then it's real. No, it's always been real. And then now it's just concretely real and in vulgar terms. Right, so.
Are the materialistic concerns or greed, let's say, overwhelming the intelligent use of these other resources?
Greed, survival at all levels. We're talking about relative survival here. See, the wealthy have to be wealthier, and the poor, are struggling to just get by, in a manner of speaking. This kind of injustice and allowing the poor to be poorer is completely anti-Christian, basically. It's unspeakably anti-Christian. Then go back to the story of Jesus, see who he took care of. The poor and the sick, he took care of them personally. And the lepers, personally. How many people are personally in his name going on doing that?
And so is that kind of materialistic separation between people going to be a permanent impediment or a long-term impediment to?
Well, it's an impediment, but you have bigger impediments going around the world right now. Bigger impediments. The earth is changing. So the earth, any kind of super volcano that blows is saying lights out forever, because then the earth says without saying a word, the mother said, it's time for me to take a rest, a break from all you crazy creations, right? That don't give a damn about the earth. You don't care about me, the mother. You don't care about yourselves. You don't care about each other. So then it's time to rest, take a big rest. And that could be for several thousands of years, there's a big rest, maybe. And then the earth rebuilds itself, because it's continually recreating itself. And the thing to put it to end would be just another cataclysm of let's say, planetary, dimensions, where another planet rolls into the solar system, collides with this, and disrupts the Earth's existence for whatever that's worth at that point in time and space. Yeah. But life goes on. It just doesn't begin or end with the Earth. It's continuum. See? It's already been happening. The fact that another planet would come in means that life is still going on, despite our appearance. See? Anybody's appearance. It just is what it is. It's a universe. Yeah. It's infinite. Go on.
And if something like a super volcano were to happen with worldwide...
It will. It's already, it's time for it. Go ahead.
Is it in reaction to
It's not in
human
reaction.
conditions?
No, it's not in reaction to anything human. It's not about humans. Yeah. It's a cosmic. It's cosmic. Order. That's how the earth purifies itself. It's like taking a crap. See? It's something that inevitably happens, so things have to blow because of the pressures that build up. Because time controls everything. If time didn't control anything, then it would be a different issue. But time controls it. Time creates the pressure. A time to be born, a time to pass, a time to live, a time to sing and dance and do everything, and a time to end. It's all about time. Time rules here. Cal rules this universe, and so that's the order of it. It's not the holy God of gods, it's time rules here. You can call the God time. Time is God here. And then there's transcendent realization beyond time, and then that becomes more the super spiritual. And we need to be in touch with that so we can transcend time and transcend let's say, the objects and the machinery of time, so that we can get back in our spiritual bodies, which we still have and we're still in touch with. But we have to understand, if you identify with the machine body, you have to pay the price point. If you, on the other hand, learn to identify with the spiritual body, then you're liberated from having to pay the price for false identification, or really incorrect identification with that which is not really living as such beyond the, say, forces of time.
And is this message getting through in any kind of quantifiable way to people?
It is through adepts and spiritual masters and other types of creative intelligence that understand in a similar way. Manna and are free enough to speak about it and let people know we are spirits first, as I've been saying since the beginning. Spirit first, spirit last, and then spirit beyond, first and last. The spirit.